If you've been hesitant to use AI for malware analysis because you don't know where to start or you just feel overwhelmed by the possibilities, you're not alone, but you are missing out. This is a prioritized list of theories I need to investigate about a particular malware sample. And I used AI to create this without handing over control of my analysis. My name is Anuj. I've been reverse engineering malware and teaching analysts how to do it for over 15 years. And today I want to show you how to get started with using AI for malware analysis in a way where you are still very much in control. Nothing to install, no giving it access to your system, just a browser and some tool output. So let's get to it. So here on my desktop, I have a suspicious program named drive.exe. As you may know, early in your file analysis process, you should always perform static file analysis where you try to learn about the file without executing it. If you want more details on that workflow, check out the description for my malware analysis template and my video on static file analysis. But as part of that process, you'll probably review strings, assess the import address table for dependencies, and run something like kappa to identify potential capabilities. That output helps you build hypotheses, which are basically theories to explore. And there are 4 tools I'll be using today to gather information about this suspect file, and then we'll hand it over to an AI model. I'll be using Claude today and have it look across all 4 files to generate prioritized theories to investigate. The first tool we'll be using is Floss, which extracts plain text and obfuscated strings. The second is Kappa, which highlights behaviors and capabilities. The third is Detected Easy, which identifies packers and compilers. And finally, I'll use a script called PE stats, which I vibe coded with Claude. It pulls basic PE file information like its imports, exports, and entropy, and it outputs all of that in JSON format. There are tools that do similar things, but it was honestly faster to have Claude write exactly what I needed. It does borrow some code from DDA Stevens' PE check, which I've credited in the source, and there's a link to the GitHub repo in the description. And the command to run is simply going to be floss because I have that executable in my path, followed by the sample name. Then I'll do a -J to specify that I want JSON output. And I'll go ahead and place that into a file that I call drive_floss.json. And then I'll hit enter. The JSON output, by the way, is the most verbose option, so no need to specify any other command line arguments. And you'll notice that for each tool, I'm actually outputting JSON. That gives Claude a consistent structure to work with rather than forcing it to interpret 4 completely different output formats. So with the floss data complete, let me go ahead now and run the kappa capability. I'm going to specify the rules that I've downloaded from the kappa GitHub repo, since that is more up to date than the rule set built into kappa.exe. And there is that rule set. Then I'm going to specify drive.exe. As in the case before, I'm going to use a -J to specify JSON output. And then I'm going to output that to drive_kappa.json and hit enter. Okay, and with kappa complete, let me go ahead and run the command line version of Detected Easy now. I have that located on my system right here. And by the way, if you want links to any of these tools, I'll include them in the description for this video. But I'm going to go ahead and reference that .exe. And then let me do a quick check of the help to see which parameters I want to use here. So I'm going to go ahead and want to specify verbose and JSON as well. So I'll go ahead and type a -B followed by a -J for JSON. Then I will specify drive.exe. And I'll also go ahead and put that into a drive_die.json file and hit enter. And finally, I'll run the PE stats Python script I mentioned earlier, which I created in collaboration with Claude. So I'll go ahead and type the path to that script, specify the file, which again is drive.exe, and then I'll output that to drive_PE stats.json. And I know what some of you may be thinking, you could use an MCP to run these tools automatically, but that means giving Claude access to your system. And if Claude has access to your system, it also has access to the sample itself, which is a problem if you're working on a file that isn't public yet. So with this approach, you're only uploading tool output and not the actual sample. But to be clear, that output is still going to Anthropic servers. If that's a concern for you, a local model might be the right fit, but that's a video for another day. So we've generated our 4 files, which you'll see here on my desktop, which means that we are ready now to upload these outputs to Claude. By the way, for this workflow, I'm going to be using the default model. It's available on both the free tier and pro. And for the vast majority of samples, it's going to give you what you need to get started. If you're working a particularly complex sample and have substantially more tool output, it might be worth trying some of the other models, but we're going to go with the default for now. So at least at first, I'm going to be using Claude's web interface just to keep this as simple and accessible as possible. And everything I'm showing you here is going to work on Claude's free tier. So I'll begin by creating a project. So here on the left-hand side, you'll see that I've clicked on project here, and I'll, on the top right now, click on new project, and I'll call this project static triage. You can see that name's already there from when I did a test run for this video. And here under what are you trying to achieve, I'll say generate malware analysis hypotheses from static analysis output. And I'll create that project. And here's the important thing. The reason I'm doing all of this within a project, on the right-hand side, you'll see a reference to project instructions. This is basically a system prompt. The system prompt stays in place, so every new conversation I start in this project will already have the right instructions and context loaded. I won't have to repeat that background with each prompt or each data analysis I assign Claude. So to go ahead and add instruction, I'll click plus here, and I'm going to paste in some instructions I've already written. It's really not that long. In fact, what you're seeing on the screen here are all of the instructions. This set of instructions essentially tells Claude what role it will play, what sort of information I'm going to provide it with, and how I expect it to respond. It tells Claude, for example, to correlate the 4 JSON files I'll be uploading instead of just treating each file in isolation, because the strongest hypotheses come from capabilities that show up in multiple sources at once. My instructions also tell Claude to assign a confidence level to each hypothesis, high, medium, or investigate, and to cite the specific evidence behind each one. You'll notice I use investigate instead of low as a confidence tier. That's intentional because I don't want to frame anything as low value. There might be hypotheses that perhaps look a little thin on evidence, but they still may be worth a look, and I don't want to skip those. And it explicitly tells Claude to treat all conclusions as theories to be proven or disproven, and to never state that a sample definitively does something. AI, as you may know, is very good at making things look right, even when they're wrong. So it's really important to tell it to treat every finding as a theory to prove or disprove, not a definitive conclusion. And by the way, if you're looking at this text and thinking to yourself, well, I could write my own, better, more detailed version of this, well, that's exactly what I want you to think. This is supposed to be a starting point. Modify it. Make it fit into your process based on your own experience. The way, in my opinion, to not fall behind when it comes to AI is to make sure you're not just using another prompt that someone gives you, but to actually build with AI, to customize your prompts based on your own background. And so I want to give you a starting point rather than a finished product. By the way, if this video is giving you some good ideas for how you want to approach your interactions with AI in the context of malware analysis, go ahead and hit that like button and let me know that you're enjoying the video so far. So with that, I'll save these instructions here, and we are now ready to upload our JSON files for analysis. Here on the right-hand side, I have those 4 JSON files that we created. I'm going to first drag and drop these over to my prompt. And then simply going to type, here are static file analysis outputs for a file drive.exe, analyze them, and provide prioritized hypotheses. And one more thing I'm going to add based on some of my prior testing, sometimes based on the size of these files, it doesn't seem to look at all 4 of them, and we'll only look at, for example, 2 of them. And so I'm going to say, make sure you analyze all 4 files before generating hypotheses. And then I'll hit enter. So you can see that the DIE and the PE stats file that I generated, it's saying it can read those immediately, but the other ones, because they are larger, requires a bit more time. Occasionally, I have seen at this point some errors pop up indicating that it was having trouble uploading the tool output. But even when I saw those errors, it still generated hypotheses based on all 4 files. So just keep that in mind if you decide to test this on your own. And as you might guess, this will be taking some time, so I will be jumping ahead to make this go a little faster. So it's been about 5 or 6 minutes, and the report is finally finished. You can see that at the top here, we have some information under the sample fingerprint, which just highlights the basics about the file size, its hash, and the compile time. Below that, it tries to summarize the hypotheses that it identified. Unfortunately, as you can see here, due to the nature of this text cut off on the left-hand side, it is a bit challenging to read. I've certainly seen this happen when it comes to any sort of visualization or this sort of colorizing that's used within the web browser when using Claude. So it does highlight a benefit of using the desktop app, where at least I've experienced this issue far less. And I'll give you some quick visibility into the desktop app here in a short while. The good news is if I scroll down a bit, I do eventually arrive at this detailed hypothesis narrative, where, as you might guess, you get more detail about each of the individual theories that Claude identified. So here you'll see that the first hypothesis suggests that the type of malware this might be is a downloader or dropper with active C2 beaconing. The confidence level it's assigned to this particular hypothesis is high, which likely means that there's quite a bit of information that supports this theory, likely across multiple JSON files that we provided it with. So it highlights a string DLL, DLL, that it finds within the embedded strings. It also identifies a Windows API pattern commonly associated with C2 connections, and it suspects the file actually gets dropped into the program data directory. And then it tells you how you might proceed via a next action to try and actually prove out this theory. So it's suggesting you perform some behavioral analysis. Another example of a theory worth highlighting is H3. You'll see this one also has a confidence rating of high, and it mentions here that the sample may be maintaining persistence via a registry run key. You'll see that it actually lays out a few different pieces of evidence across several of the JSON data files that we provided. First, it identifies a literal string associated with a run key. Second, it identifies a copper rule that was matched based on setting a registry key value. And third, it actually brings in a slightly different piece of evidence, which is the use of the copy file Windows API, which it suggests is actually being used to drop a copy of itself or the payload to program data/systemdrive.exe. It also then, as part of the next action, suggests monitoring accesses and writes to the registry run key as part of behavioral analysis in order to actually confirm this suspicion. So for each hypothesis, you can see it's pulling from multiple files whenever it can. That's really what makes this worth doing. It's not just looking at one source in isolation. A string, for example, in isolation is relatively weak evidence, but a string that also maps to a COPPA capability and a suspicious import, well, that's a hypothesis that is worth your time investigating. Each one also has a confidence level and a specific next action, as I just highlighted, so you have a path forward. One thing I did want to point out in one of the lower confidence observations here is H6, where it identifies anti-analysis measures. And again, this one has the confidence rating of investigate, which was the lowest tier. Notice that it highlights a potential COPPA match that the rule in this case is, quote, reference analysis tool strings, which could be evidence of anti-analysis measures. But in this case, it specifically calls out that it matched against Frida, which is a tool that could be used for malware analysis, but the actual matched string was actually Friday, right? So in this case, that happens to be a false positive for COPPA, if this is in fact true, which is something we would want to confirm. But I did want to go ahead and highlight this one because in addition to just identifying hypotheses to investigate, in this case, it actually called out a potential false positive in one of the tools that we used. So having reviewed this sample before, these hypotheses are actually pretty good. I also want to call out towards the end of the output here, the cross-artifact correlation summary. This is quite nice in that it basically highlights some of the hypotheses that it identified and then shows you in this table whether the evidence for that hypothesis exists across PE stats, floss, kappa, die, or any combination of those outputs. So I think that's a really nice summary. And then at the very end, we have analysis gaps, which really brings attention to potential next steps and areas of further investigation. So in general, lots and lots of leads here in this Claude output for us to investigate and for us to really use as we direct our behavioral analysis, dynamic code analysis, and static code analysis efforts. Another point I want to make is that because the system prompt I used was fairly light, you may get slightly different output each time you run this. In fact, every time I ran this in preparation for this walkthrough, I got slightly different information. The hypotheses were roughly the same, but the layout was different, the text was different. In some cases, the supporting evidence was different as well. So just keep in mind that AI models are not deterministic, so the theories that are output here might be worded differently or ordered differently if you perform this test on your own. For now, that is normal, and as you refine your prompt over time and get more specific about the output you expect, the hope is that you'll see some more consistency as you tailor it to how you work. And finally, I also did submit the same query using Claude's desktop app and just wanted to show you this as well for comparison. Again, the exact same project instructions, the exact same text prompt right here, and of course, the exact same for JSON files. And as you scroll down, in my opinion, I think you'll agree that this is the best presented hypothesis list in terms of readability and in terms of the summary that it actually provides. So really up to you in terms of which presentation you prefer. And of course, presentation is important for readability. And ultimately, we're trying to read this content in order to focus our next steps in our malware analysis process. So just wanted to provide this to you as well for comparison, but it's really up to you whether you want to use the desktop app or the browser. I primarily focused on the browser for ease of access, but using the desktop app might be worth exploring if this is something you want to do on a regular basis. So that's the workflow. 4 tools, JSON output, 1 Claude project with a focused system prompt. You get prioritized hypotheses, confidence levels, and next actions without handing over control of your analysis. So how are you currently using AI in your analysis workflow? Or are you avoiding it entirely? If so, why? Drop it in the comments and let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.